Welcome to Sword Thumb Review. Today we're going to compare two excellent handguns. One is MMP Smith and Wesson Shield in 9mm and the other one is Glock 43 in 9mm. Both of these guns are single stack guns, and we're just going to compare them and see which one, in my opinion, is maybe better. Some areas one shines, some areas the other one is better than the other. So let's get to it. So first, Smith and Wesson comes in a cardboard box. Box is not so impressive comparing to the Glock ones. This one is much better for storage and so forth. Kind of reminds me of a Pelican boxes. In the box you get handgun, clear it, and this one is a model without the safety, without the thumb safety, which I bought on purpose, and it comes with two magazines. One is extended magazine and the other one is just a regular size magazine. So we have a 7-round magazine and an 8-round magazine with a handgun. However, last year when I purchased this handgun, Smith and Wesson had a special where in a certain time, if you purchased your handgun, they would actually provide you with two additional 8-round magazines and a box of self-defensive ammo, and that was a Hornady self-defensive ammo. So pretty good deal from Smith and Wesson. On the other hand, we have a Glock 43. This is not mine, semi-automatic pistol. It's a loaner from a friend of mine, and he just kind of let me use it to make a little review on it. As well, single stack, as you can tell, Glock-like, feels like a Glock. Clear it. And this one comes with a two 6-round magazines, and they are, typical Glock magazines. They are basically polymer magazines with a metal insert inside for durability, which is really cool. I always like Glock magazines. And a little speed loader. Smith & Wesson comes with a lock, so does and clearing rod, and so does Glock. So I'm gonna move these extra magazines and the boxes so we can focus on the pistols. First, we're gonna talk about what are these guns meant for, really. So philosophy of use is basically concealed carry single stack 9mm pistol, and Smith & Wesson actually came with the model Shield quite a bit before Glock did. So as I said, this one doesn't have thumb safety. I'm not a big fan of thumb safety myself, and it's kind of hard for me to engage and disengage thumb safety. But this is my personal weapon, and what I like about it is the slimness of it. Single stack 9mm conceal really nicely, and I think that the Glock really wanted a piece of that market, and they came out with a Glock 42, which is basically 380, uses 380 ammo, and then Glock 43, which is 9mm. I much more prefer 9mm over 380. That's just my personal opinion. I think it has more punch, and it's not much bigger caliber, therefore not much bigger pistol necessarily. I think that I don't have 42 here, but I think 42 and 43 are pretty similar in size. I really love the fact that Glock came out with a single stack. I love their products, and I think that they make great weapons, and I was super excited for it. However, I already had Shield, and so I wasn't going to purchase another weapon. Let's talk a little bit about ergonomics. We're going to start first with the sights. Smith & Wesson has a great sight. It's a 3-dot sight with a long sight radius. I really like that. There's basically a round indicator, that loaded round indicator. It's this little hole right here. I don't know if you can see it, but you can see basically brass through it. Then I like the fish scales here. They're really comfortable to pull back on. There's a slide release. There's also takedown pin. I like the trigger of it. The trigger is fairly light. I was actually surprised with no safety, thumb safety on it, how light the trigger was. Manufacturers usually add poundage on the trigger if there's no external safety, just to be more safe, I guess. I like the feel of it. However, a couple of times I used handgun in the desert, and when it was wet, it was kind of slippery. There's a texturing right here. I think Smith and Wesson created another model that has a more texturing. Here, this is basically a first model, so that's what I'm comparing with a Glock. And I like the fact that they gave you a little bit of extended magazine, which takes another round. I don't know why Glock didn't do that. They did give you an extended grip, but it's just a plastic piece. I think that they should have put another extra round in it. More firepower, better, I think, in my opinion. But now I'm going to firepower. I kind of don't want to go off tangent. So ergonomically, I really like the handgun. It sits nicely. The slide is great. It's a little bit higher bore sight level right here. If you compare it with a Glock, Glock has a low bore sight. You can see if you compare that, this is, I think, a little bit higher than the Glock, but not by much. So I think Smith and Wesson really thoughtfully created this handgun, and I'm happy with it. Now let's go to Glock. Glock, I love their finish. I like their classic Glock sights. They don't bother me. I shoot them well. There is no any indication of loaded round, which I don't really care. I think that Glock did a good job with basically downsizing, making smaller the current version of the Glock to be, to fit these dimensions for concealing. Glock has a Glock 26 and 27 that are, and Glock 30, which is a 45 caliber. They're both 26 and 27 are double stacks, and I like that the Glock came out with a single stack handgun. 43 model, famous Glock finish. They don't get wore out pretty quickly. The sights are plastic. As we talked, I like the sights, but I like that Generation 5 has the same sights, but they're metal sights. I like texturing on the Glock much better than I do on the Shield. I think it grips better. I sure like much more the mag release. I think it's well thought. I think that fits good, and it's big enough that you can engage it easily. But I do think that Shield has better trigger pull. So thumbs up for Shield, the trigger pull. Thumbs up for Glock for their texturing. Now the feel, I always like the Glock's grip angle. Thumbs up. Glock, I think. I don't mind Shield. I had it and I know how to shoot it, so all is well there. Okay, firepower. Let's talk to firepower. We'll start with Glock. We talked a little bit about it. Only 6 rounds and 1 in the chamber. That's 7. I think as a backup weapon and as a concealed weapon, this is plenty of firepower. 7 is sufficient, but 8 and 1 in the chamber is better. So thumbs up for Smith and Wesson. I think that Smith and Wesson is they actually did their homework. You can buy mag extension for a Glock, but that means you gotta spend a little bit of money. I think it's like $12, and that'll give you an extra round. But why not include it in? I mean, that mag extension costs Glock what? A couple of bucks, and you pay $400 for the handgun. I think they should include it, just like Smith and Wesson did it. However, when you're buying Glock, you're buying a track record, which means Glock has been around for a while, since early 1980s, and Smith and Wesson has been around too, but they haven't been as successful in semi-automatic market as Glock, in my opinion. I read somewhere that 70 or 80% of law enforcement market in United States is held by Glock. That tells you that our finest basically trust Glock with their life. Track record is great, dependability is great. I think Smith and Wesson M&P series are awesome, but I don't think that they have as extensive track record in semi-automatic weapons as Glock does. However, I like Smith and Wesson wheel guns, snake guns, they're great. So, accuracy. For accuracy, we're gonna have to go to the range, and when we come back, we will decide which one, of course, in my opinion, this is just an opinion, I would prefer. For a shorter barrel, that's not bad. I shoot much better. I didn't shoot to the left like I did with Smith and Wesson, which basically if you shoot to left or right, that means it's your trigger pull or up and down, that's your group. I'm really happy with that group. It's only 7 yards, of course, but the gun is accurate. Honestly, I enjoy it more shooting than my Smith and Wesson, so real like thumbs up. Thumbs up for Glock 43. So. Back to sore thumb review. We just came back from the range shooting two awesome guns. The first is Smith and Wesson Shield in 9mm, first generation, and then Glock 43. So we shot. I was really impressed with both guns. Very familiar with the Smith and Wesson since it's mine, and this is my third time shooting Glock 43, and what a gun that is. So I'm gonna share first points on the Glock 43. So Glock 43 right here, what a great shooting gun that was. Here I'll show you some data and how accurate it was, way more accurate than I was. So I shot two sets, one set of 4 and one set of 3 rounds, and ended up right here. Actually, I think maybe two sets of 4 rounds. This was one flyer, and then my boy was shot after me, and he was all over the place, as you can see. But very, very accurate gun. 7 yards, probably, I guess, maybe inch and a half groups, inch groups. I really enjoy shooting this gun. Very enjoyable. I'm very impressed with the handgun. Next, we're gonna move to Smith and Wesson Shield. Shield was also pretty good, but for me, not as enjoyable and not as tight groups, and as this is like 2.5, maybe 3-inch group on 7 yards. Not very impressive. The gun is more accurate than I am. So what does that tell you? That I was just better with the Shield. I tightened up those groups here, but I still felt way more comfortable shooting Glock than the Shield. Now, the price difference between these two guns, Glock is around $380 for Blue Label handgun, and Smith and Wesson Shield is around $250. So $130 difference. Now for me, if I was going to defend my life with it and of course take it to the range to practice with it, I would not hesitate to buy more expensive gun, because I know that I'm going to keep it, it's going to defend my life, I'm carrying it everywhere, and if I enjoy shooting it more, $130, a difference for me is worth paying for it. So in my book, which one I would buy? If I was buying one, I would buy Glock, hands down. However, that's only my opinion. I shot better with it, I felt more comfortable with it. That does not mean that the Shield is not as equally good gun as Glock is. I like its firepower, I like its trigger better. For some reason I just shot Glock better, felt more comfortable with it. If I was gonna have 2 or 3 carrying guns, I would probably pick up Shield in a heartbeat for the price, great value for the gun. So that's my conclusion for these two guns. Please subscribe, more videos to come.